Welcome to week 2 of our class as we continue this journey through study of teams, transitions, and conflict as we look at this whole concept of shared leadership, teaming, teams, how being involved in transition often leads to conflict, and how we can work through that. This week in week 2, the title of the week, the theme of the week, and the question of the week is, what are the essential skills of team leaders for the church? Leaders need to have certain skills in order to be effective in the work that they do. There's been a lot of popular writing about skills for teams and team leaders, and one of those writings is by Mark Williams. You can find that in Blackboard there at the very beginning of week 2, and he really gives us 5 qualities of a team leader that we should aspire to. The first one is that he says we should recognize the value of your team members, and I think that oftentimes, particularly those of us in the church and in ministry context, often see people in our church as a means to an end and not so much the reason for our leadership. And so I think that he's spot on with that suggestion. His second suggestion is that we should involve the team in decisions that affect the team. You know, there's nothing worse than being told you've got to do something and you've not had any input. But how often do we as church leaders and pastors and even academics, how often is it that we just tell people what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and yet we wonder why they're not happy about those kinds of things? Why do they not enjoy our ministry or their ministry and the work that the church is involved in? Number 3, he talks about being prepared to listen. And perhaps many of us leaders, my favorite saying is that leaders lead. I would like to also add to that good leaders listen. And I think that we have to learn to lead by listening. And as the Bible instructs us that if we're wise, we will listen to counsel before we make decisions. Perhaps we are still the one that is responsible, but we really should listen to the people that we're leading and the people around us. And so number 3, I think, is very good. The fourth suggestion that he makes to us is that we should lead by example, and we can never really ask someone to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves. His 5th suggestion is be prepared to admit mistakes. And how often do we find ourselves making mistakes and yet being afraid to admit that we're really human and that we've made mistakes, and then to ask for forgiveness, and then we can move on together. Well, those are some good suggestions, and I think they fit well within the context of the church. But as we look at these skills that leaders are to exhibit, our reading this week is focused in that area. We have another writing that I have produced for you. It's a journal article that I wrote for the Journal of Religious Leadership, and it really deals with spiritual formation, but it gets into this whole idea of retrieving perichoresis as really a model for leadership, particularly by Christians, in the context of the article itself within the marketplace. Now, we're not involved in the marketplace so much within the church, but we work with people who are, and I think that it's a very appropriate article. I hope that you'll enjoy reading that. It was a great article to write, and it pulls together a lot of the ideas related to shared leadership, teaming, perichoresis, and those kinds of things. I hope that you'll like it. And then we're going to look at Crosby, pages 79 through 128, and we're going to be reading about some of those skills in that area. And as we do that, as we are reading and preparing what we will be doing is, as we get to Blackboard and to the assignments, we have a couple of activities that we're going to be involved in. One major activity, and the other one is the upload of your abstracts, which will be a great and wonderful thing. I'm sure that you're excited about that as you abstract each of these texts. But learning activity 3, we're going to be looking at real life experience, and it's really broken down into 2 parts. The first part is based on Crosby's teaming interviews with Jeff Sellers, and you will read about that within the book. I want you to interview a real-life teaming leader and use the questions on pages 104 and 105 for the interview and post the results to this forum. So I want you to identify someone that you think of as a teaming leader, perhaps a pastor or some kind of ministry leader, anyone that you would find within the context of, say, a religious or a Christian leadership position. Interview them using those questions, those very same questions that Crosby uses with Jeff Sellers, and present us with the interview in some type of verbatim type approach, and that would be wonderful for us to be able to read and then to respond to. And then number 2, I want you to read and respond to each other's interview results and compose a group list of the strengths of a teaming leader. And so as we work through that, everyone will give us some of the strengths of a teaming leader, and we'll compile that together, and we'll interact with each other, and we will enjoy finding some strengths, some of the traits of great teaming leaders based on real life people. It's very easy to read books that writers write talking about all the things that we should do, but when you and I have the actual opportunity in real life to identify great leaders and then to dissect their leadership and identify characteristics that we can share with others, that's a great thing. And so I think that you'll learn a lot from that. Again, learning activity 4 is to upload your abstract. There's a link there, so please upload that, and we'll get that graded as quickly as possible, and then we will move on to the next week. But this is week 2, a lot of great reading, a lot of great things to discuss as far as traits of great leaders, and I know that as you're beginning to focus on your leadership and improving that, I know that you're going to learn a lot of good stuff, and we're going to learn a lot from each other as we share our experiences together. I'll pray for you this week, and as always, if you need me for anything, feel at ease to contact me, and I will get back with you as soon as possible. Have a great week, and God bless.